I have been shouting about this compound from the rooftops on this channel for probably about 5 or 6 years. And now we're starting to see evidence that as far as bang for the buck is concerned, from a gut health and gut permeability perspective, like for the amount you need, this is probably the most powerful thing that you could consume. It also has mechanisms that protect against obesity, like actually can protect obesity-induced damage, diet-induced obesity. We're gonna talk about some rodent model stuff. We're gonna talk about human application as well. And then I have another interesting compound that's really wild that people don't talk about. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into this. And I'm gonna give you exactly what we're talking about. I'm talking about green bananas. And hear me out on how you use them, because I don't want you just eating a bunch of green bananas. But thank you for not clicking off the video once you heard about what it is. Now, do me a favor, drop a comment for the algorithm and stick around. And after today's video, I put a link down below for something else that's tremendous for gut health and recovery, and that is ARMRA colostrum. You can find colostrums out there, but I promise you, like ARMRA is the only one that is using a biopotent cold processing. Okay, so meaning when they process the colostrum, they're not heating it and destroying the over 400 bioactive compounds that are in colostrum. They're not destroying it. It has to be cold processed, and ARMRA is the only one that does that. So as all the colostrums that are out there, ARMRA is the only one that I trust. And I don't use it all the time, but when I know that I am in compromised gut health, I absolutely use it. Or if I'm overtraining, I'll use glutamine, because I know that glutamine is definitely good for restoring gut function, but ARMRA, I will use the colostrum because that is what it's good for, is that gut permeability improvement, that gut health overall, and by and large, modulating inflammation to a point where maybe we can recover a little bit better. So they have their regular form, and they also have a performance more like recovery form too. They have it in stick packs or a tub. It tastes delicious. That link is down below. It's tryarmra.com/Thomas, and that's a 10% off discount link. Trust me, it's one of the biggest things that you could do for gut health. Applied Physiology, Nutrition, and Metabolism looked at green banana flour. First off, it was done in mice, and then we'll talk about human stuff. Okay, so in mice, they divided these mice for 10 weeks into 4 groups. High-fat diet plus green banana flour, regular diet, and a regular diet plus green banana flour. What they found is that across all the groups, anyone that had green banana flour had reductions in inflammation. Okay, that's no surprise. But what they found is that the high-fat diet group, the green banana flour actually protected against fat accumulation. As a matter of fact, it wasn't just like a modest amount. 21% less fat accumulation in the high-fat green banana flour group compared to the regular high-fat group. So same amount of calories, same stuff, just one had green banana flour, one did not. So let's talk for a second, because these are rodents, like why this could happen. One of the biggest reasons why this could happen is the simple prebiotic effect. It is a resistant starch, which means that it's going to radically shift the gut microbiome. As a matter of fact, when they looked at this study, when they looked at the microbiome, this was the most alarming thing. There was one of the most radical shifts in Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes that I've ever seen. Okay, so Firmicutes is the bacteria that is associated with obesity. You can almost draw a clear line. If someone is obese, they're going to have a high level of Firmicutes. We don't know a ton about the microbiome, but we do know these correlative pieces that are very strong. Correlation doesn't always equal causation, but when you see it over and over and over and over and over and over again, you start to kind of understand it. Firmicutes is the obesity bacteria. Bacteroidetes is the lean bacteria. They went like this: high Firmicutes, low Bacteroidetes, 10 weeks of green banana flour, just added into their diet, even with a cruddy diet, and Bacteroidetes high, Firmicutes low. Not to mention a 21% prevention of obesity. So you could see that over time, this is why I consume green bananas. I've done videos on Instagram, I've talked about this. I've been made fun of because people will say green bananas aren't good for you, they're not ripe, you're not supposed to eat them. I don't eat bunches of them. I eat like a quarter of one, or I eat a half of one. And I do know that there are compounds out there that are green banana flour. I don't really use those, I have, but I just get a slightly unripe banana, and I will probably eat, I don't know, a half a banana every 2 or 3 days or something, just as a random snack along with a protein shake. And I'm getting practically no carbs. It's a resistant starch, so it's not really impacting my glucose. If anything, it's actually having a positive effect. But they also found in these studies that the green banana flour reduced leptin levels, so that means it's gonna kind of help that process of being able to know when the body should burn fat versus not, and it reduced interleukin 6. So pretty potent effect overall just on inflammatory markers. The other one that is really interesting, I've talked about this in another video, and I've talked about it before, and you're gonna click off because you're gonna hear that, okay, I understand why. It's bone broth. No, hear me out on this. The interesting thing about bone broth is there's a study published in Medicina where they induced ulcerative colitis with bad diet and inflammation. And they found that bone broth administered before trying to induce ulcerative colitis literally protected against the formation of ulcerative colitis, and it decreased the inflammatory cytokines and increased the anti-inflammatory cytokines, not to mention interferon gamma. So it increased the entire anti-inflammatory healing process, or recovery process, downregulated the inflammation, and prevented the ulcerative colitis from actually forming in the first place. But what's interesting, it's not the collagen, it's not anything like that. What they found is specifically with ulcerative colitis, it's much more of a glutamine and histidine issue. So when histidine and glutamine are low, you're at risk for ulcerative colitis, especially in those types of populations. What they found is that because over 40% of the proteins in bone broth are glutamine and histidine, it actually provided a buffer for that deficiency. So when you are feeling like your gut health is compromised, or you have gone through a bout of overtraining, of illness, of stress, you can almost guarantee your gut health is compromised. It's one of the first lines of defense. Add glutamine in, or add bone broth, better yet, use a real food. That way your body is going to take up with the food matrix what it needs the most. So in this case, they used they made a bone broth from the femur bone, right? Make your own bone broth, buy your bone broth, whatever it is you need to do. Bone broth has these properties, and it comes down to basic amino acids in the proper food matrix form. Not to mention the collagen and the gelatin are good for the gut too, but it's really about when you're compromised. Okay, so green banana flour as maintenance, bone broth added in when you need it. There's also some interesting evidence with hemp seeds, but I saved that for a different video. So as always, keep it locked in for my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.